Hello, I am Amy, and together with my friends Emma and Brian, we will be delivering website news from London Scottie Club in audio format. The advantages are that if you are out walking your dog, you can listen to the latest stories from London Scottie Club. This new service is in addition to London Scottie Radio podcasts, which you can listen to from this website or from podcast apps. Comment on how you find this new service. Thank you.
Playing online and on smart devices. Now on London Scottie Radio, it's podcast time. I'm George Matlock. Welcome to Scottie MOT, the health and well-being show from London Scottie Club. We bring back Jacky Ash of Ashgate Kennels and Grooming in Fivehead, Somerset. So first of all, a very big hello to you. You've been driving, haven't you, today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, yeah. So you've been out and about somewhere. I heard you were in another county. Tell us more.
Oh, I know. I nipped into Devon just for 48 hours, and actually it was just to switch off for a little while. It's been a little bit busy.
Right.
And I just needed some downtime, so
good
I'm
for you.
raring to go again now.
Okay, well, I hope the weather was nice and you went somewhere nice to explore.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, just on the edge of Dartmoor, so it was very quiet. Dogs in the river, pub lunch, nothing more. It was really good.
So are you the sort of walking, hiking type, or are you somebody who just likes to sort of sit under a tree?
I do like to walk, but hiking these days is a bit beyond my hip. But yes, I do like to walk if possible, quite a long way. Yeah,
excellent. Well, welcome back and thanks for switching back on. Because we have a show to do. So we're welcoming back, as I said, Jacky Ash, who's a regular here on Scottie MOT, as many of you know already. And today we've got one big, really important topic to talk about, and that is about what to do between grooms. So just to give you the background, Jacky runs a service which is to groom dogs, hand stripping. There's also clipping. So today what we want to focus on really is the question of what should people be doing in between spending money coming to places like yours. What can they do to maintain the coat of their dogs? So over to you, Jacky.
Okay, well, I think the biggest thing that we have found is people don't brush their dogs well enough, and it's mainly because the brush that they've bought isn't the right one. So they are doing everything that they feel that they should be doing, but because they've got a brush that's too soft or the pins on them are too short, they're not getting down to the skin properly. So then they arrive at the groomers, and the problem is we then have to try and deal with a coat that's underneath has become matted. And under health and animal welfare, we're not allowed to demat them, and that's when you end up with clipping off. So the biggest advice I can give to anybody is buy a decent slicker brush. Don't be afraid to use it quite hard through the coat. Don't do it over and over again in the same spot, but just nice long rhythmic strokes, and really make sure you're down to the skin, and you will maintain that coat in much better condition.
And how often should people be brushing their dogs like this? Is it once every day, once a week?
In order to, depending entirely on the lifestyle your dog leads. I mean, my dogs I tend to do every other day, and that's because they're running in the field at the back of the house, and because of that they could be picking up ticks, they could be picking up fleas, and they're going to get knotted. If it's raining.
Knotted. We didn't mean that quite, ladies and gentlemen, not quite literally.
But certainly, if they're wet, they're going to need brushing more often. If they're sitting on the sofa all day, then they're clearly not. But it is actually a really good thing, though, to do with your dog, just to spend time with them.
Right.
Even if your dog doesn't need doing, just spend time with them and brush them.
Right, okay. So what you're saying is that the more active the dog, the more need there is to regularly brush them.
Yes, and also depending on how long you're leaving those leg furnishings. I mean, a lot of Scotties have it all clipped off, or they have it all taken off by the groomers on a regular basis, and in which case then you haven't got the build-up of the knotting in the legs or the matting. But if you're keeping longer furnishings, which certainly the dogs that come to us tend to do, we tend to keep the furnishings longer, then you do need to be brushing those through, and that could be daily.
Yeah. Now, I know that you obviously look after a certain number of Scotties who appear at major dog shows, like Crufts, for example. So presumably they're the people who are coming to visit you have very specific requests in terms of what they, and of course you know what those are as well, because you know what the rules are of Crufts and what is expected of the breed. So is that part of what you're doing as well? Is having to maintain those very specific strictures of your clients?
Yes, and we need the client's help to maintain that coat. I mean, the client may be coming into us, certainly if it's a show dog, it'll be coming into us probably monthly, and we will be bringing down the coat gradually, layer by hand stripping it, and working on those furnishings the same, so that we've got lovely full furnishings without them being, long and straggly. But if the customer or the client is not maintaining the coat in between, then we possibly can't save those furnishings. The jacket on the dog, yes, but the furnishings are, they'll just break off after a while. It's a bit like our own hair. If you don't keep brushing it, it will just get tangled. You'll have to cut it off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and as you say, you're not allowed to even try to untangle this. So if they're in a really bad way, then as you say, you have to cut in order to be able to do your job. Yeah,
absolutely.
So for show dogs, you're talking about once a month seeing your clients. In the case of those of us who are not showing their dogs, what is the sort of gap between visits that you would envisage? Is it sort of 3 months or so?
If you're hand stripping, then it would be about 3 monthly. We can't do it any more often than that because the coat won't be ready to do it. So it'll be 3 to 4.
Yeah, sort of 3 to 4 months.
Clipping the coat, then you're talking every 3 to 4 months. If we're clipping the coat, then it's 6 to 8 weeks.
Right. Okay. So more regularly than that. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of so that people understand this, if you've listened to previous editions, you'll know this already. That hand stripping is a very sort of natural process, almost of natural attrition. The dogs, it's not quite chicken feather plucking, but you're taking out dead hairs, aren't you? I mean, that's the whole idea behind hand stripping versus clipping.
The easiest way to describe it is if you imagine your hair is growing out of a hair follicle, which I think everybody probably knows what that is. On a dog, you can get 3 or 4 hairs coming out at one time. So you get them at different lengths. Now, the longest one is the one that we pull out. So it's ready, it's done its growing cycle, it's all finished, it's ready to just fall out. All right, so all we're doing is helping it along its way. All right, so you're not actually pulling. But if I tried to pull one of those new hairs that's growing through, then obviously that's going to hurt. So that's why it's a skilled job, because we must make sure we're pulling the right hair. And when we want to see show dogs so often, it's because we're doing what we call rolling the coat. So we're taking, if you imagine, say, 4 hairs on week 1, we're taking away hair number 1. Next time we'll be taking hair number 2. Next time we'll be taking hair number 3. Do you see what I mean? So they're constantly all growing. And then you never see really that the dog has been trimmed. It always looks the same.
Fantastic.
Whereas if we're clipping a dog, obviously, you're just taking the top layer off each time.
Yeah, and of course, as we know, Scotties come with 2 layers of coat for different functions. And if you're clipping, you're basically cutting through that and creating one rather sort of fluffy and bushy sort of coat, which is irretrievable. I mean, it's done, it's done.
That's right, and the undercoat will then just get thicker and thicker and thicker. And this is one of the reasons we have to go down to a 6-week clip. It's not because customers are not maintaining their dogs. It's because it's getting so thick that it can't do the job of keeping the dog cool anymore, or keeping the dog warm, because it can't function properly. And particularly in the summer, obviously we need we need to be able to monitor the length of coat so that we can get it right for the dog's health.
It's interesting what you say about it gets sort of out of control, and the fact that the fur starts to almost like multiply, I suppose, become bushy and so on with clipping. It does almost sound like it's actually quite a serious thing, because in the past, what we've, as you know, on the program we've discussed is that hand stripping is a preferable way to proceed, but that clipping is, well, okay. But it actually sounds like there is some kind of a long-term damage that's caused by clipping, or can you reassure us that's not the case?
No, you're not causing damage, but what you are doing is that you are going to completely change the texture of the coat. So if we pull the coat by hand stripping, because we're taking the root out of the hair follicle, we're making a space, and the next one can grow through. So you're never building up, say if we go back to our 4 hairs, we're never building up more than 4 hairs at a time. As soon as you start clipping, you're cutting the coat. So the follicle hasn't emptied. So what will happen is that it's all growing at the same length, and so therefore the coat is, that hair is never going to reach its proper cycle end, and so therefore it just gets thicker and thicker.
Yeah.
That's all that happens. So it's not it's not the end of the world, and there are hundreds of thousands of dogs that are clipped every day. You just need to know how to maintain. You need to be just a little bit more careful with the maintenance.
Now, with some dog breeds, obviously, hand stripping is neither advised nor really part of the DNA of that particular breed of dog. What's fascinating here is that you're saying that each follicle will produce up to 4 strands of hair. I mean, in human terms, presumably 1 follicle, 1 strand of hair.
That's right, yes.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
you've got the 2 types coming out. So if we go back to our 4 hairs, you might have 2 hairs which are what we call the guard hairs, which are that really nice hard coat that you've got on the outer jacket of your Scottie.
Yeah.
And the other 2 will be the soft undercoat, which is, if you like, the padding. So it's really clever. It's very, very clever how the hair follicles, work it all out, and that's all by genetics.
How many breeds of dog would benefit from hand stripping? We know of Scotties, and there are other breeds as well. I mean, to your mind, how many are you familiar with? How many have you, for example, groomed, hand stripped?
I think everybody tends to think that it's just purely terriers that you hand strip because of that hard coat. Obviously, there are a lot of terriers, and most of the terriers in the terrier group are hand stripped. We also hand strip Spinoni. We also hand strip.
So can you say that again? There was a little drop out there. So Spinoni, did you just mention?
Wire-head Vizslas.
Yeah.
Yes, the Spinoni.
Yep.
Wire-head Vizslas are another type, and a lot of Spaniels. A lot of Spaniels we hand strip, and you wouldn't sort of tend to think that you would, but if you look at a Spaniel and you see that lovely flowing coat, that doesn't do that on its own. We maintain that by, again, working it through with hand stripping, working that hair follicle, so that we always get that lovely coat. And again, you see, with that one, you don't have an undercoat, so it's a completely different technique.
Comparisons are always a very good thing, even though everyone here who's listening to this program is almost certainly a die-hard Scottie fan. So in the case of Spaniels, do they also have, just for comparison's sake, do they also have 4 hairs coming out of the hair follicle?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily, because they haven't got that undercoat. And again, it's up to the skill of the groomer how many layers or how many hairs you start building up. I mean, in a terrier, we love to have 3 or 4 if we possibly can do it, because that gives us 3 months worth of rolling coat. But that is on a show dog. You're not going to do that on your pet dog, because I'd have to see that dog every sort of 3 or 4 weeks, and it's just not practical, or it's too expensive for people, in all honesty.
Well, of course.
And there's no need if you're not showing your dog.
This is Jenny. I listen to London Scottie Radio podcasts when walking my lovely Scottie Logan. It's the perfect accompaniment to a leisurely dog walk.
I'm Elaine. I like to listen to London Scottie podcasts while chilling with a glass of wine and preparing dinner.
It's Max here. I listen to the podcasts in the bubble bath for fab tips.
This is Zelda.
I like to do lino cuts of Scotties. That's what I do when I'm listening to the podcast. I listen to them for inspiration.
This is Fraser, London Scotty Club podcast. It's a great way to end the day.
Okay, well, this is all very good advice. So you're saying the sort of main sort of takeaways from this today are that if in between grooming sessions, owners should take the responsibility to brush their Scotties with the right kind of brush every, I guess, 2 to 3 days. And what was the name of was it a slicker brush, did you call it? That they should buy the right kind of brush.
Yes, I mean, we would recommend that you get a slicker brush and also get yourself a good comb
Right.
so that you can brush through the dog. If you can go through then with a comb, and if you just get one which has got sort of fine teeth and larger teeth, if you can go through with the finer teeth, you've done a fabulous job.
Now, I'm just going to look it up actually, because I can't say I'm familiar with the slicker brush. I mean, it sounds like something that, sounds almost like a name of a flick knife or something. Yeah. So
Any pet shop will sell them. So if you go into any of the main pet shops on the high street, ask them behind the counter for a slicker brush. They will. It's basically a flat pad, and it's got bristles off it.
It's a square thing, isn't it? It's a sort of square thing with a slight curve. Often I see
Right.
and then it's got all these wire. It's very short wires that help to
You've
sort of
got
grip
wires.
it. Yeah.
That's right. And then the longer the wire, obviously the deeper the coat. So if you get a very short one, you're not going to get through. So you want sort of a medium length one.
Right. Okay. And in terms of the size, do they come in different sizes? Because obviously, in the case of a Scottie, you want to get the right type.
Yeah, I would go for a medium.
A medium sized. Okay.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
they come in small, medium, large. I would go for a medium because that's sort of a good average size.
Excellent. Well, I think that's really good advice. So thank you very much for that. So, Jacky, it really just comes down to brushing. There's nothing else that they should be doing. I mean, unless they've practiced some hand stripping in between, I guess, but it sounds to me like we'd best leave that to the professionals. Right, well, stay right there, Jacky. I'm just going to remind listeners that if you've got a question for Scottie MOT, be sure to send it to us. Use the form on scotty.scot, or you can use the contact page on londonscotty.club. You can also attach a photo or a video if it would help. In the case of urgent matters, we always recommend that you do not delay, but instead seek professional advice from your vet. During the summer, quick sort of shout out to everyone, we will be broadcasting only once a month, Scottie MOT, so the next episodes will be in mid-July and mid-August. Next guest will be Kath Marchbank, therefore, in 4 weeks' time. Programme, as always, airs on Fridays at 9 a.m. London time. Well, Jacky, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. No,
relaxed, I could tell yes. From you didn't feel interrogated by me. You were very relaxed there. Excellent.
No, I wouldn't feel. Can I just say one last thing before
yes.
we go? Only because we're coming into summer, nothing to do with grooming. If you are walking your dogs on pavements, please check the temperature of the pavement with the back of your hand to make sure that it's not too hot for those paws. Because we do see burnt paws during the summer months. So back of the hand on the pavement, 5 seconds. If you can hold your hand there for 5 seconds, it's safe for your dog. If you can't, it's not. Don't walk them.
Don't walk them. Yeah. Well, I think you're quite right. This week in particular, we're expecting in the south of England to see some very, very high temperatures, anything up to 32 degrees Celsius. So as you're listening to this program, you're probably already sweltering, and more to come, I guess. You know, the summer's only just beginning. So that's very good advice. And thank you very much for that as well, Jacky. And also, listeners, remember to be sure to subscribe to us from your app, so that you get notifications of our next instalment. And that, of course, is actually very important, because as we produce the programme only half as often as we did in the previous months, that you may not remember when the next episode is out. So it's a really good way of staying in touch with us, is actually to subscribe to us through your favourite app. That's the advice there. Wishing everyone happy and healthy Scotties. Thanks for listening to London Scotty Radio. This and all our podcasts are available online at londonscotty.club. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe to us from your favourite podcast player app. Also visit us on YouTube for fun videos. And if you have a Scottish Terrier in London or nearby, be sure to join us.